What up?
Real Talk Live.
What's up with y'all, fellas? Se la pasan las calles, ¿me entiende? Cuando yo te estoy hablando, ¿sí? ¿No?
That's these
Dime algo, contéstame.
favorite line.
We know you've been around.
Understand?
So what's
What up,
going on?
gangsters?
It's almost the end of March. 8:30 by our time. Wednesday. New topics. I guess we have small chat as people join in.
Yeah.
What's going on, Z? What's going on, Dev?
You know, life just ain't life without me.
Just wait, what?
Man, I'm just talking nonsense right now, okay? Like I'm talking pure nonsense.
One of those days, man. Shit, what is going on? There's a lot going on in the news and stuff, but all right, let's talk like what else? Well, what we used to do like damn, it's been like a year to a year and a half or so ago. What we used to do like kind of recapping in the beginning, like what's going on with like regular stuff. I'm just running in the house, like so I just ran in like I don't know 10, 15 minutes ago, just juggling stuff. Doing my app stuff. Doing my app stuff. Staying
How's it
busy.
going?
It's cool. It's definitely a longer mission than I expected. But I guess what makes it longer is doing it without just having unlimited sources of money to just throw at it kind of thing. That's what kind of elongates it. So, but there's been it's a long process. It's definitely a longer process than I thought. And the more you dig into it, like the more you find out that talking about a app build, anybody application build, anybody listening. The more you put into it, the more you kind of figure out things you need to think through, like from beginning to end and the whole process kind of thing. So it's kind of like you got to kind of have in your mind like the whole vision on how something works without it existing yet, kind of thing. So like every little detail, and that's what I try to do. I try to think of like every little detail, and I can't, where you can come up with every detail, but every detail of the whole process, like you got to come up with that. You literally got to lay it out so like other computer programmers and stuff that so they can understand it, like in a mapped way and everything. But so I've had to do that like a bunch of times. Because every time you got to explain it, you got to start from step so everybody can understand it from step by step. So that's what it is. That's what it be.
Sounds like a process of processes.
Z looks comfortable there. You never know that he was.
Yo, I'm just trying to maintain my existence.
So yeah, we should kick it off. I guess we should kick it off. So maybe all right. So maybe I'll initiate the
Start it
conversation.
off, Mike. Start it
One,
off, man. What we talking about tonight?
what are we talking about tonight? All right, we're going to the starting topic is one I don't know too much about. I think you guys may know more about it. And this is the topic going on around. Her name is Ginni spelled with a Ginni.
Ginni
Ginni
Thomas.
Thomas, the wife of Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court judge. There's a little uh, mayhem going around her name and I guess with her. So maybe I don't know nothing. I know very little about it, but I wouldn't do it any justice by even getting into the conversation. Yeah, I saw a post. We're definitely gonna get into the Smith conversation as well. We're gonna ease into it.
Definitely shout everybody out that's up there real quick. We got Perry up there, Black Wisdom, Big Cousin Paul with the jokes, sleepy jokes for Charles. And yeah.
Yeah,
Going back to what you said, Mike, I don't know if there was an article, I just sort of glanced at it. It was sent to me. It was basically saying that, there's some text messages or something. And she was basically making some noise uh, to sort of keep Trump in office. And then when they had like the dissenting vote, and I know this is where Charles comes in, because I know Charles probably got it all together. Apparently, Clarence Thomas was the only dissenting vote as far as that January 6th commission. So it just seems real Clarence Thomas-ish. I don't know. I don't have nothing for him anyway. I don't care for him. So
The lawn jockey for the far
Wait,
right.
I don't even know nothing about that. So what? There was a vote specifically on what though?
On the election. The whole, January 6th, certifying the election type thing that
Thomas isn't involved in the certification process. Right?
but his wife shouldn't be. Well, I like Charles.
yeah, nah. So they were saying like she was basically reaching out to people to try to get them to like not, certify the whole election, basically that, stop the steal, that whole thing like that, and so now uh AOC, she's making a lot of noise that, that he needs to resign, or, she want to, they want to try to impeach him, you know, so that his wife, you know, that's basically the gist of what's going on, just another person as time goes on that they're trying to connect, or not trying, or maybe have evidence connecting them to you know like unethical, and in some cases maybe criminal,
Was there? My question is though was there anything? So whatever she did must have been crazy because I did hear something about people were sending messages in order to try to have them not certified. But is there any involvement that her husband Clarence Thomas had in relation to it, or it's just kind of guilt by association because he's the judge in the whole process, right?
um
That you know of. That
you
you
know
know of.
what they want them to do. Like, they don't want him basically involved in any cases. Like, they like the basic thing is they don't really want him to be involved in any cases that have anything to do with the January 6th thing, that
Yeah,
that may arise from that.
you got your mic must be somewhere on your shirt, like when you
Oh
move around.
yeah. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's like when you're
Yeah.
moving, it's
Oh yeah.
go ahead.
So yeah. So that's basically, I mean, that's basically the gist of it. They don't, and now obviously there's a question of what her influence on him how he rules on cases in relation to anything dealing with January 6th. So, or anything dealing with basically anything connected to that, because there's a lot of things connected to that,
Yeah.
you know.
So I got you. Uh, so yeah, so I could see how that's all shady and stuff because there was when I was digging into a bunch of it, like there was a whole like there was the whole push. Oh, I know what that was connected to. Also, it was connected to. They said part of the either members of the Trump organization or others kind of related to in the legal spectrum or whatever. I know they had like substitute what do you call it electors like they had people who weren't even official electors, yeah, because there's a certain amount of electors that actually do the vote. So remember they had like they were trying to put in a substitute like state electors and say they were the official ones for the vote because the other ones like didn't count or something like that, somewhere along the lines of that. And that was the other whole shady part that was going on, I guess, in relation to that. So
What are you talking about with the electoral college? And they didn't
yeah,
want them
because you
to
had the electors who made the votes, who then would then certifying it at the Capitol, but somehow they were trying to like even I heard something else like they were literally trying to like disqualify the electors in there and substitute like their own people with like a different kind of ballot or something like that. There was
hmm
something to the effect of that, and so that was like that part was really crazy. Uh, I don't know if you want to read. I see Paul put something up here. Oh,
yeah,
Right here with Paul wrote, all of this
yeah.
junk, 7 hours of phone records are missing, and
I don't
Trump said,
really agree with the electoral college system anyway, though, as it's set up anyway.
oh wait, go ahead, Dad. He was right. Oh, so yeah, I don't know if
no, I didn't
I'm
hear what
not.
Charles, what did you say, Charles?
I said I don't I I I don't really agree with the electoral uh system for the president the way it's set up. I don't think that they tally and do it in the best way. I definitely think you need it, but I don't and I know it has its roots, in slavery and that history of it, but I definitely think you need it. I just don't think that they should count it the way they do. I think that they should do it something. I don't. You see, like he did disagree. You know, a lot of people want the electoral college done away with, but here's why. Honestly, I feel you really can't do that because you basically have 50 individual elections plus DC going on to decide the presidency, and you really kind of can't do that on a individual voting because like New York and California are democratic states. That's the bottom line, right? And like New York has 18 million people. So let's just say the presidency was decided by New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. It would be basically a waste of time to even have the election because if New York wanted to vote Democrat, like Jersey and Connecticut combined, they just don't have the numbers to outvote New York. So they would always be some. Like you look at Wyoming, they got a state population of 500,000. They can't outvote nobody in the union. So if it was individually, it would always, the election, the presidency, and everything would always be dictated by the states with the most population. So that's why I don't think you could totally get away with it as an individual thing, like the governors and mayors and those type of elections. I don't think you could really decide it on the individual vote like that. But I think that so like just to familiarize with it. So basically, every state has two senators and a certain amount of representatives, and the two senators with your representatives total is what gives you how many electoral votes your state has, right?
I used to remember
So
that about the
yeah, so
represent.
that's how they determine how many electoral votes your state gets based off of districts and the two senators, right? So obviously, the greater the population, the more electoral votes you're gonna have, because the more congressional districts you're gonna have, right? But the way they do it, and actually every state doesn't do this. I think like Maine and Nebraska are the only two that kind of don't do it like that, right? So what they do is basically you have an individual state election. Who do y'all want to be the president,
We in class right now. Go ahead.
right? And whoever wins the individual vote for that state automatically wins all of the electoral votes for that state.
Right.
That's why upstate New York is Republican Trump supporters and the lower half of New York is Democrats. That's why they feel their voice isn't heard, because they are never going to outvote New York City. So, until New York City doesn't want a Democratic person, upstate New Yorkers are going to be mad for their entire lives because they don't have the population to outvote New York City. That's just the bottom line. So they will always be dictated by what New York City wants,
So, but
right?
check this out. Just let me just a question to think about as you're saying that though. But then if you're considering if you're not considering the population, then you're just considering geography, right? So you're saying like, yo, there's 500,000 people who live north of I don't know, pick a location like Rockland or something like that, and then like should they have half the vote because it's half the state or something?
Nah, what I think, this is what I honestly think. I don't think no candidate should get all the electoral votes automatically for the entire state. How I don't think you should do away with the electoral college. What I think should happen is every district has its voting. Every congressional district has its voting, and then you have the two senators. Like I said, how you make up the total electoral votes. Whatever your district vote is, who should get that electoral vote. So if upstate New York, let's say in Albany or Syracuse, if Onondaga County votes Republican, then that electoral person should be required to vote Republican to satisfy what the people of that county wanted, who they wanted to be president. New York City, if they vote Democrat, then they win that electoral vote. And then the two additional votes that you get because of the senators, you could just start off by saying one goes Republican, one goes Democrat, and then let each congressional district vote whoever they pick. That's who the electoral college vote. So let's say a state has 27 electoral votes. You know what I'm saying? Like President Trump, let's say at the time, he could actually win more congressional districts in New York, but as long as he loses New York City, he's going to lose the state of New York. You understand what I'm saying? So,
So you sound like
so
you thought this through before or something.
yeah. So what I
You
think
lost
is,
that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
instead of one person getting all of the votes for that state, I think it should be tallied up. So let's say New York has 27 congressional districts plus the two senators. They get 29 electoral votes, and that 29 doesn't have to go to one candidate. If 16 counties vote for Trump, he gets 16 of the electoral votes. And if 11 counties vote for whoever the Democratic person is, then he gets 11 electoral votes. And then and then say you have 29 because of the two senators, one goes to the Democratic Party, one goes to the Republican Party. So everybody starts with, say, the 1 and 1 in the state, and then you just go to the congressional districts, and whatever that district votes, that's who the elector has to vote for. And then you have more of a feeling like that your voice is actually being heard. But I can honestly see, like, if I lived in like rural New York, what is the fucking point of going to the poll? We're not gonna outvote New York City. We're not gonna go Democrat. We're not outvoting New York City. And it's almost like, literally, what is the point of even coming out? Because you already know before you go, you're losing. because you're not going to outvote New York City. You're just not going to, the Republicans are not going to outvote New York City and New York State. So they're not going to win. And you know that before you even go to the poll. So it's just a feel good thing, but you're not getting what you want. And I can see why people feel, yo, my voice not being heard. You know what I'm saying?
What was I gonna say? The only thing that would mess that up is if the congressional districts aren't they based on population size as well?
Yeah, but yeah, how to? I mean, now Perry has an interesting point too, because that's what that will be how they start messing with it, by how they start aligning districts. So they can definitely like try to play with it the way they do now with on a local level, by restructuring the districts so that you lose the Democratic congressional representation, and align it into like a Republican thing. So it's definitely room for error and nonsense also there, but I just think it's a better way and a more fair way if it's done that way. You know what I'm saying? Like that, because I think about it, like, don't think about who you like or what party you like. Like if I have 25 districts and one of those districts has more of a population than the entire 24. Just think about it. If New York had 25 districts, they a Democratic candidate could literally lose 24 of those districts and just win New York City, and he would get all of the votes from New York State. That
Right.
doesn't seem kind of fair, man.
Gotcha.
Real
Right.
quick, because my internet was tripping, I guess. But didn't you say something the other day, Charles, about Anita Hill? And was she
About
right?
doing who?
Anita Hill. Was that you I was talking
Oh
to?
yeah, when I was
Or
saying, I
wasn't
said,
she right?
yeah.
Like like
Well,
pretty
I
much.
don't know if she was right about the sexual harassment. I mean, she kind of made sexual harassment a household word when Clarence Thomas was going through his confirmation. And I was younger then, definitely not paying attention to the level that I pay attention now. I mean, I had to be in my early 20s when that was going on, right? When was that? I mean, we had to be like 19, 20, 21 maybe. And but I just remember that it was like uh like there was a lot of sentiment,
Trouble.
that it was like, oh, here you go, man. Every time, here come the sister with the, trying to tear the brother down type of thing, But I remember reading an article in Emerge magazine. I don't remember. I don't know if y'all remember Emerge magazine. It was a black magazine, and they had a picture. They called Clarence Thomas a lawn jockey for the far right. Right now, the history of that, which they say is not really real, but the story is that the little long jockey used to alert them to the runaway slaves and everything. So they were basically, now they said there's really no truth to that story about the lawn jockey and everything. Who knows? But they were basically equating Clarence Thomas to like, yo, trust me, he gonna get in there and let these people know everything that black people want, and he gonna help make sure that they don't get it. You know what I'm saying? And like one of the first things, one of the early things he was ruling on is affirmative action. You know what I'm saying? Like, to get away with, get rid of it, kind of. I mean, true, he conveniently ignored all of the times he's benefited from it, but I mean, that was one of the first major things he voted against, was like, the affirmative action for, so I don't know. If you look at, I remember one time back, this is a few years ago now, and they were looking at like they did like some type of like data sheet, a breakdown of like black issues that black people wanted, and which way he voted, and almost everything was opposite of like what black people wanted. You know what I'm saying? Or how they felt about a particular issue before the court. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
who knows, man?
Uh, and I can see like an answer coming from him would be like, there's no, uh, they'd be like, there's no one person who speaks for all black people, whatever. Issues are diverse, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's just being devil's advocate on the conversation.
Yeah,
You
you
know.
know how it get in the club. Told y'all.
What?
Yo, every so often I sing to myself, man.
All right, go right ahead. You can join. You
Every so often I talk to myself, man. So don't worry about it.
all right, so I don't know. All right, so should we shift? I think we can easily shift into topic number two because there's a lot to chat about that if y'all want to.
Yeah,
Top,
feel free.
all right,
Set it off.
maybe bring it. All right, topic number two. I think it's probably fair to say pretty much everybody's seen this, but there was an incident that happened at the Oscars with Will Smith and and Chris Rock. Um, let me say this ahead of time, right? Let me clear the air on this here. So I I think it's a big conversation, but I think the big conversation is everything like outside of the actual incident. Like I think that's like 10% of it, like 90% of it is other stuff, everything behind the scenes of that. So that's just my opinion. So anyway, so Will Smith got offended by Chris Rock making a comment having to do with Jada Pinkett Smith's hair. Made a comment having to do with GI Jane. He came up. He walked up to him at the Oscars, um, smacked him across the face, and walked off like it was nothing. So yeah. So what are you going? Somebody start that conversation off there.
I'll ask a simple
Well,
question. Do you think Will was right? That's where I want to start the questions.
Say again,
Do you guys think Will was right?
Charles. You start on that.
I don't uh I don't think that's the way he should have handled it. So, well, let me say this first of all. In my personal opinion, right or wrong is subjective and relative to a person's belief system. There's no, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about right or wrong. Because there's a lot of things I think is right that other people think is wrong and vice versa. So that's kind of like subjective. But so I don't know if he was wrong versus I wouldn't have handled it that way. Let's say that.
Elaborate.
Well, you asking me like, I mean, if I would have found out later on that, in the back he kind of like checked them because he felt a certain way. And like again, I can't say whether he's right or wrong for feeling that way. That's subjective to his own definitions of how he felt about that. What I'm saying, if he did feel a certain way and he approached him about it later on in the back room somewhere and some words was exchanged and he smacked the shit out of him, I would have just been like, oh, okay, all right. But running up on stage in some sort of like Kanye West type of move, I don't think that like, that was the correct way for him to handle that.
All right. So what's my opinion? To be honest, like I haven't even thought about it myself, whether or not I even really thought it was right or wrong. I just kind of, I actually even in my head, and I haven't even processed it like that. So that's what I'm having to do right now. Like, was it right or wrong? I guess. Yeah, I guess the instinct. Yeah, I guess it's a quick answer. The quick answer is, my thought would be it's definitely wrong. Like he, because in no, like in no situation, especially from him. Like I don't know. Like there's been other incidents, like say on stage, it's the Oscars or whatever. But there's been other instances on music festivals and whatever else, something that's aired live or whatever. Like something's happened before, right? So what makes it so different? Because it's you know there's been fights or something that's broken out, right? So what makes it that much? And I'm thinking this through, so like, what makes it that much different, right? Because it's the Oscars instead. It's more like suit and tie or formal. Like, what makes it that much different? If somebody has an issue with somebody, damn y'all, come on.
No, I was waiting for Dev.
Oh, I didn't know. I mean, what makes it different? In theory, the way I look at it is, you know, every time we have these talks on this platform, I always deal from basically a cultural perspective, and I deal from a collective cultural perspective. A lot of my conversations are about us as Black people, melanated people. So some people, when they saw what happened, they're not going to look at it through our eyes. They can't because they can't see it through our experiences. White people can't. They can't look at it through our eyes and our experience. They might empathize, but it's a nuanced conversation. There's a lot of different. Everybody saw that thing and could relate in one way, shape, or form. I don't think what he did handled the
Oh shoot,
place
Dev, you
no more
freezing,
than.
man.
Okay,
Dev, whatever you just said, we missed
yeah,
it.
I've been. It's
you just got cut off at what you don't think what he did.
yeah. It's my drink been struggling the whole night, man. I don't know what's going on. What I was saying is the way he handled it and went about it. I definitely don't think that was the right time or the place, even though it happened in real time. And I don't know, you know what I'm saying? It's not to say that he's a sucker, but you know, I sort of come from the sentiment like I don't think he would have did the same thing or had the same energy if it was me, you, or Charles up there. And I'm not saying that to disrespect Chris. It's not saying that Chris isn't a man. Man, he's a man. And it seemed like he, had a second where he was thinking about, you know, maybe hitting him. Just a quick second, like, whoa, like once it was coming through, but whatever. But I just don't think that was the right way to do it. That's all I'm saying. I mean, Charles said it. He said, if he would have handled it a little bit different later, so be it. But this has nothing to do with the Oscars per se, as far as how you should handle it one way or another. I just think that dude was sitting up there, and whether it was a nervous smile, whether he was laughing, something was going on. Then he looked at his wife, she looked at him, and all of a sudden he's on the stage doing what he's doing, and then 20 minutes later he's by what I'm hearing, because I didn't see the whole thing. I didn't watch it. I only seen pretty much the same clips you all did, but then I seen the clips of him happy and everything else. It's a little confusing to me, and it's just a little confusing to me, But I think both of them were wrong in some ways.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think it's just like Will Smith was wrong. I think Chris Rock was wrong. I just wish, when somebody here wrote, when keeping it real goes wrong, that's what it feels like to me. It's like when keeping it real goes wrong. And, everybody's going to have their own opinion of it, but, it's almost like black on black violence on a white stage. And, for our community, we sort of got to be careful with that in the sense of the historic significance of that. And I'm not saying that Will Smith did it for the gram, but whatever. I was just hope, a little bit more hopeful that he would have handled it a little bit different, but he didn't. You know, he did what he thought was right. I don't know. And another thing, and I'm gonna shut up on this note. Y'all know, growing up, a man like punching you in the face, that's one thing. But a man slapping another man, that's like that's like a whole different level of disrespect in
Hmm.
most black communities. And I don't think like people really understand from a, like somebody has said, like his children are gonna watch that and probably see it forever type stuff. But a man slapping another man is like, whew, that's different. I'm not saying a man should slap a woman, by the way. I'm just saying, but for a man to slap another man, it's different. You know, it's different. You know.
Now,
Uh,
hold on. I want to post this comment right here
oh,
because
that's what I was gonna mention.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I've seen that comment a lot, right? And
Oh, you can leave. I mean, leave it up a second.
oh, I didn't take it down. Yeah, I've definitely seen that comment a lot, and I definitely understand why people make that comment. And there was a time, honestly, I was around comedy shows a real lot. I was growing up, I was hanging with Talent all the time when he was blowing up, and like he had me around a lot of people, the Moniques and all of them type people before they even blew up, the Bill Bellamy's. We used to be on that comedy scene, and I've seen fights at comedy shows because of what the comedian says.
Hmm.
So I understand definitely that you have to have thick skin, but I will say this, that a comedian doesn't have carte blanche thing. Comedy can cross over to disrespect. So it's
Yeah,
not a carte blanche. You could just say whatever you want because you can start becoming disrespectful. I was at a Paul Mooney show one time, my man did. Paul Mooney, he says a lot of racial stuff. He went so hard racially that white people got up and started walking out. They didn't they didn't rush the stage, but they started walking out. And I'm gonna tell you, man, like it was so brutal that I felt a little uncomfortable with what he was saying. I was like, damn, I even was like, damn, are we at a comedy show or is this like a racial monologue right now going on? You know what I'm saying? So, and here's the thing, like let's be clear. Will and Jada and everyone in that audience, they didn't attend the comedy show. They attended an award ceremony, first of all, right? So they wasn't at a comedy show, even though Chris Rock is a comedian. And honestly, it's a thin line there. And obviously, comedians make jokes about retarded people, right? But it's kind of a little different if you had a autistic kid or something, like, because it's more personal to you. You understand what I'm saying? So saying the joke and not addressing Jada in it, then it's like it's cool. Saying a joke and you are personally to somebody that references a medical condition that they dealing with, you could kind of understand where they may be a little bit more offended by it, right? And so, and like I said, it's one thing if you pay, you go to a comedy show, you know how the comedian is, it's a little different, but like they didn't really pay to come to a comedy show, and Chris Rock wasn't even a host; he was just a presenter. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of other little things there, but at the end of the day, I think that shit happens. Probably could have been handled better. Everyone could have probably maybe have done something a little differently. And I don't think the sins are unforgivable. I don't think they're unpardonable. And, for the most part, man, I don't think he's going to lose his Oscars. And, for the most part, people are going to move on. I'm more surprised, honestly, because I mean, like when you think of Will Smith's reputation, like, if it shocks you that he did something like that, then his reputation, other than what people may think about his relationship with Jada, isn't. And Aunt Viv, they said the original Aunt Viv said he was mean or some shit, but that's relative, but it ain't really flawed. regardless of what you think about how he handles his relationship with Jada. So, it's like, I don't understand like a need to like tear him down. I mean, I always say, you can destroy anybody's character if you only gonna look at their flaws and their mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like from things I've seen on social media, man, it just kind of shocked me, especially like how Dev, you was talking about like our community, how like so many in our community was like going so hard on them, like, for having an emotional response to something. I think he's dealing with a lot. I mean, the man is called a sucker for staying by his wife, the ultimate double standard, because if he would have cheated on Jada, there would have been an expectation that she stick with her man. Jada cheats on him, he's a whole sucker to the world because he stayed with his wife. They've been married 25 years and they've dealt with a lot of shit. People talking about them, their kids, their open marriage, August Alsina, and a lot of shit. I would say that most dudes wouldn't have been able to handle that. They wouldn't even been able to get past the part of their wife cheating on them. So there got to be some type of strength and love in their relationship because most people don't even last 25 years, especially in Hollywood.
And that's
So
what you just said. I don't mean to cut you off. I think one of the sentiments, as far as that goes, is basically how, to some, she's basically emasculated him. She's made him to be the sucker. He played a role in it, but nevertheless, because of the way she's done things, and it's like you said, they have a relationship where people get to see things that, in most people's relationships, you don't get to see what goes on behind the scenes. But I think also when people are looking at their relationship, Will and Jada's relationship, they also see a little bit of themselves in past relationships or something they might currently be going through. And so depending on what your position is, you're going to have a strong opinion. I was talking to Patrina the other day, a poet from North Carolina, and when we were talking about it, I said to her, I said, what's interesting about this is everybody's still spinning. Normally when something happens, you see it and you can pretty much make a snap judgment. But with this right here, it's so much to take in. And like you said, the emotional things he might or might not be going through. You know what I mean? I think he's going through something, obviously. You know what I mean? The things that have happened with his wife, the things that have been put out there about him and his children. And it's sort of like that. It's a weird place. It's a weird place. You know what I mean? I personally, I've been in situations when I was growing up, especially in New York. I remember being down on, what's the movie theater in the Bronx off the highway where everybody used to go?
Whitestone.
Whitestone. Whitestone. I'm there with my little date. My homie had a lot to say, but I had to make a decision. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, he's popping off enough where I knew whatever it was, whatever he was bringing, I couldn't match him. It wasn't about a fight at that point. You understand what I'm saying? I get it. So I made the best decision that I thought was possible for me to be able to get back to New Road safely. But again, when I looked at how homie walked up on that stage the other day, and then, he slapped another man, and in our community in particular, we got a lot to say about everything across the board. I'm hopeful that these discussions can lead to bigger discussions, especially as far as like the mental health of Black men, period. I'm not saying, I'm not disregarding anybody else. I'm just saying we're always supposed to just be like Superman and we don't feel pain and, we don't have these emotions and we rah, rah, rah. Nah, we do everything that everybody else does. We cry like anybody else cries. You know what I mean? We're human. At the end of the day, we're human. And so in one breath, maybe maybe we saw a human experience. But on the other side, I'm still just, man, this thing is still spinning to me. You know what I mean? The more information I get, the more I'm like, I mean, those are two of the biggest cultural icons we have, even if we don't like them. Even if you're not a Will Smith fan and you're not a Chris Rock fan, if you're not a Tyler Perry fan, if you're not a Denzel fan, these are like the cultural icons in that industry that still, to some degrees, represent us, even though they don't represent us in the sense where we're not monolithic. All of us are different, but that's what people see. And it was a weird moment. It was a weird moment. I just wish it would have played out differently. And I'm not against, let me say this so everybody can hear this. I do believe that sometimes, like in certain situations, you might have to protect yourself, or you might have to defend the one you with. You might have to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to think like it's all like peace, kumbaya, because somebody can definitely do something that can, you know, make you go there. But that situation, a controlled environment like that, I don't know, yo. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
No.
I was going to add a little bit of I mentioned to Charles briefly earlier. Like so in reading some or some video interview and stuff I heard a while back that kind of that focused in on Will Smith and his upbringing and stuff like that. So I don't know how many everybody look how many people listening like know of this. So this is I'm just going to fill in a little info on what I heard about this. So one of the things that, and this is where I think the bigger discussion is, like as far as like not the incident itself, like, and it's a conversation that we were kind of having amongst ourselves and stuff like that, and so this is it. So one of the big things that Will Smith I know had to deal with or dealt with was he grew up in an abusive household with his mother, right? So I haven't read his book. I'm sure he tells all about it in his book that he brought out. But he grew up in a very abusive relationship where his father used to beat on his mother like severely, and as a kid, he wanted to basically like kill him, right? So he had so much, but he felt like defenseless about that whole situation, and so he mentioned himself like that that inability to defend his mother like stuck with him and was part of his like driving force in the way that he like developed his personality and how he saw like that he needed to be successful in order to have a good financially successful to and have that drive to to be the best for his family or have the best family and have everything controlled or to a point of where it would be happiness as opposed to like that the stuff that he dealt with in growing up. And he never really, and somewhere along the lines, him and his mother were separated. The father and the mother were separated. She left them or something like that. And so he spent years not around his father and stuff like that, but had a deep rooted like almost hatred for him kind of thing. And and he never came to terms with it, right? So he mentioned like all these things that he had in his head about what he needed to do as far as the family's concerned, and that led into like what everything that led into with he and Jada's relationship. And what he said later on is that he figured he had to have all this financial stuff in place and everything, but then he realized that like that didn't equate to happiness, right? He realized he was making his daughter miserable in certain situations with his daughter who started doing a singing career stuff. He was being overpowering stuff like that. He figured that he figured everything would come in line financially, but that didn't happen. Then he realized that didn't equate to his happiness and stuff. And so what I heard him say was he's almost thrown out completely out the window, like all his expectations of what equated to his happiness and even his career and stuff like that. And he mentioned before, like his journey now is to go every like day by day and try to figure out everything you can do to just be on that pathway to from like kind of a broken home to reestablish and figure out what that means to be on the right path to be happy individually and as a family. And that's something that he and Jada like constantly talked about. But that stuff all stems from like the dysfunction and breakup in that nuclear family that he grew up with and how he kind of maneuvered around all that stuff. And that's something I mentioned with us. Like that's something that a lot of us have dealt with. Not necessarily, everybody's situation is different, but the breakup or missing part of that nuclear family and how you cope and deal with that as you get older. Because there was a huge disconnect for him, and and I think that's part of like what came into play with the way he's reacting with things right now, like the psychology and stuff all behind that. Now, not that and somebody can't say something about your lady, your wife, and you just so you can't go off and do it. But what people are saying when they look at it, everybody's saying, "Oh, there's a lot more to that," because maybe even though it was crazy, like in that form, he could have been more self-restrained, or he could have checked them later, or whatever. But it just seemed like it was too much out of character even for him in that situation. So I think that's what you guys are saying too. Like, he just there's something else. That's what a lot of people saying. There's a lot of stuff that went on top of this. So their family is dealing with like he and the family and whatever else. There's a lot of the crazy stuff going on. Like
Yeah, well, it's always a straw that'll break the camel's back, kid. I mean, that's just the reality of it. That's why, excuse me, that's why that comment I had put up there. I think this really is I think that's a real comment right there. It was a reaction in the moment. We have all been guilty of it. That's why I don't understand the tear down of them. We've all been guilty of it. We've all. Now I'll tell you straight up. Personally, I do not subscribe to the violence is not necessary in any situation. I'm not saying it was necessary in that, but I am a supporter of violence. Trust me, and I think that sometimes it's necessary.
You're gonna
You
start off
know,
with a
Yo,
supporter of
listen, I'm gonna tell
violence
you
in the
straight
right
up, man. Look,
situation.
look, 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 look.
Yeah.
The bully stops bullying you when he gets punched in
True.
the mouth, not when you ask him to stop bullying you. There is times when violence is necessary.
Without
And
question.
so I don't subscribe to that. Oh, violence is not the
Turn the other
answer.
cheek,
Might
like
not be it might not always be appropriate, but it is necessary in
might
certain
not be appropriate, but it
situations.
might be effective.
Yo, exactly. Yo, and it's necessary in some time and situations, kid. So like let's not I'm not even going to entertain the idea in one of the most violent countries on earth that violence is not a necessary component for your survival sometime in this world. You know what I'm saying? So let's make that clear. Even though I'm not saying that violence was necessary in that situation. I'm just saying in general. But and I agree with this. It's like, yo, it doesn't matter. It's gonna he no matter what, he would have been a sucker for not addressing it, a sucker for slapping him.
Yeah,
That's
true.
just the reality. And to her point, and I'm gonna veer off of Will Smith for a minute, and it's another topic we could get into on another show, whatever, to tie into what she said that I saw on Facebook the other day. They pointed to the fact that Kamala Harris has a white husband and this what's her name, Kenji Jackson, the Supreme Court lady, had a white husband. Now I'm only saying that because the comments that black women were writing were, yeah, well, black men are normally aren't really supportive for women with good jobs and high powerful positions. And I didn't comment on it. I just read it, and that it speaks to the damned if you do, damned if you don't. And this is not just in society. I'm talking about. I was reading this. These was written by black women, and I was like, damn. If a rich black athlete dates a white woman, is he has something against black women or whatever. And then it's like, and if a black chick dates a white man, it's like black dude's fault for not being supportive. I was like, yo, we can't win in this shit, kid. It's our fault. Like, we damned if we do, damned if we don't. You know what I'm saying? So I just pointed that out to say to that. But yo, the reality, I mean, someone asked, I think y'all posted, like, was that corny joke really offensive? Like, I mean, to me, as a bald man, I wasn't offended, but a woman, I could totally see. Let's be real here, right? I remember when my stuff started fading, right? I didn't go through depression, but I was like, damn, shit, man, I can't braid my hair no more. It ain't like this shit is crazy. And society accepts bald men. but my self-esteem wasn't at a point where, like, I wasn't painting hairlines in and wearing toupees or putting Rogaine and stuff in it. I just was like, all right, I'll cut it. But for a woman, yo, a black woman in her hair, are you kidding me? You know what I'm saying? I could easily see, like, some women, but let's speak about black women, and I know white women
Didn't
too, but
she
black
say
women,
she
like,
didn't care about that?
yeah, but most people say that they don't care about the very things that they do care about. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
granted, but I just,
no, she was saying, yeah, she did make some type of statement like that in an interview, right? But let's be real here, right? Now, all the joke aside or whatever, let's just talk about, this, if you really, I cannot imagine the emotional response. I mean, it could borderline on mental health, it could borderline on depression for a woman to wake up and patches of her hair be falling out in a society that values how your hair look. There's certain standards of beauty, like, to act to even try to pretend like that this alopecia, because it's common or whatever, isn't gonna affect the mental state and different thing of a black woman, and maybe we feel it shouldn't affect Jada. Some people talked about how much money they had. I don't I for the life of me, I don't know how that has any relevancy, but I've heard that type of mention. Jada used to wear her hair short. Yeah, it's a difference between wearing your hair short because you want to cut it that way and wearing it bald because it doesn't grow. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that I can easily see, and I'm not speaking to Jada specifically, I can easily see where that would be traumatic and something that they don't. I don't care if you joke about my bald head, but I mean, just think of us growing up. You little bald headed black bitch. How many girls was disrespected with that? That was made to think if you had short hair, you wasn't pretty enough. You wasn't good enough. Oh, you got those extensions in your hair. People used to crack on people with that before they turned it into $1 billion industry with all these wigs and weaves. Why do you buy all these wigs and weaves and shit if hair wasn't an important thing to black women in our community? So then to have a black woman criticized or joked or laughed at about her hair and to dismiss it like, oh, that ain't really no big thing. I don't think that a lot of black women in that situation would feel that way if they woke up in patches of hair, their hair were falling out. I just don't think. I can see where somebody would take that very offensive and personal, even though it's not a terminal illness. It's not the end of the world. Jada happens to still be a very beautiful woman. But the reality is, kid, that can have a very hard detrimental effect on a woman. There's women that won't even go to a show because they couldn't get their hair done.
all right. Well, so
You know,
let's let's just keep this shit real, okay? I'm not even going to like sugarcoat it. I'm just going to say it for what it is. An open marriage or not, you bring a child into your home that's got some type of mental issues and needs some help, and you deal with that child. What kind of effect did that have on him? So in one breath, we talking about a joke about her hair. Okay, and I get it. It could definitely offend her, and it probably would offend. And for all of the black women out here, please don't come for me. Believe me, I protect you all, but I also am big on accountability. I'm big on looking at this thing sort of balanced. And at the end of the day, whatever they're going through, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just feel like with that August Alsina situation, I don't think he's ever recovered. And I read up there where it was like an open marriage, you can't cheat and all this other stuff. But I'm quite sure they probably got some type of rules emotionally, oh, excuse me, some things emotionally that are still going to tug and pull. And to me, I mean, can anybody show me where she holds him up? Has she even made a public statement about what happened yet?
She made a comment on it. She kept it very general. But yeah, she made a comment. Oh, I just want to add one quick thing. Everybody listening, we want everybody to click into the videos instead of just like listening in the background. Well, that's my request actually. Click in to the video so we can.
The marriage has to do with talk about her hair.
We can see
the video. At the end of the day, I said they both were wrong. That was the first thing I said. Well, after my first sentiment. And to Charles's point, we don't know how that's going to affect her. I'm not taking nothing away from her. But I read a lot of different comments. And for me, what I'm seeing is a lot of the women that, you know, the strong black woman that don't need a man black women, those type of black women, they had a lot to say about this type of stuff. And ultimately what I wrote on my page was, to me, what we saw on that stage really is an example of conversations that we need to be having in our community away from all eyes. So whether it's the discussion about the disrespect Chris said about her hair, whether it's the discussion about two black men on a world stage having a moment, I'm personally sick of all of our stuff being aired out into the world, but we don't close the doors on the rest of the world, well, overall, and just do the work. So that's what I'm sick of. I want us to do the work without being the minstrel show or being entertainment. That's all I'm saying. I'm not taking nothing away from what Chris did or said. I'm just saying the conversation is really, there's layers. And too many times we say something and really there's like layers. And so we're all peeling back the layers because we're all still spinning. We're all seeing this thing in different ways. Personally, I wish it didn't happen because ultimately, even though I'm not the Will Smith fan that I was once before, I mean, he's still a part of my childhood. He still gave me one of the dopest songs probably for most of y'all. You know, that Summertime song is still an anthem for me. And so ultimately, it's not, I know where he's from. And he tells people where he's from. And if I'm not mistaken, he smacked a white reporter before. So it's not like he doesn't go there. The only thing that I was saying is a wishful thinking perspective for me. I just wish he didn't handle it that way. To Charles's point, yeah, violence is sometimes necessary. And I'm a nonviolent person overall, but you're not just going to do certain things if I can defend myself without me trying to defend myself. To Chris Rock's point, you know, did y'all hear the tape that came out when he was talking to his therapist or talking to somebody back in January about how he was bullied and he put the bricks in the bag and he went and he beat the dude up. He either beat him up or hit him or something.
Who, Chris Rock or Will Smith?
Exactly, Chris Rock. And it sort of was shocking to me in this light. The timing of it was like at the end of the day, we talking about two black men that need healing, no matter how you look at it. We talking about two black men that are hurting. At the end of the day, one from childhood, and I remember what it was like to be bullied on until Charles said it right, until you hit back. And the first time I hit back was right on Lincoln Avenue, right there across from Curtis's store. And I did what I had to do to get out of that situation. Never had another problem out of that person, but the bullies were still around. So for me, all I'm saying is the conversations that we need to start having has nothing to do with the rest of the world. The work that we need to be doing, we got to do it away from them. And it's going to be virtually impossible, but we can still have some integrity and be on code about something.
Dev, 1 second and then finish. Yo, fellas, keep going. You'll know where I'm at, what I got to do. I got to go take care of something. Keep going. I'll join you back in a few. All
yes,
right?
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm not, Mike, I'm gonna shut up on this note. I laughed like everybody else. Like I was shocked when I saw it. I was like, yo, did he punch him in his face? I thought he punched him. Mm-hmm. And then, I put up a few little jokes, you know what I'm saying? I put up a few little things, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that that Will should not have defended his wife. I'm just saying, like, the more I'm thinking about what just took place, the more I'm starting to see myself and everybody else in it. And it's causing a conversation I think we need to have. You know, that's all I'm saying. It's caused a conversation I think we need to have. When you're angry, you're not thinking about, I'm sorry. Video separate stuff by race, he's a celebrity. How does it? Let me answer.
Why don't you throw up some of the questions?
Well, let's read Nikki's point, but then Matthew asked me about why am I always separating stuff by race. I want to answer that. She's worn her hair in a buzz cut before. Who's to say that Chris knew she had alopecia? I mean, that's a great point. But I'll tell you this. I don't know if he knew or not. I wish there would have been a little bit more something different about that night. It didn't happen. You know, but ultimately, the work that we need to be doing, we still have to do. Can I answer Maddie's question real quick, Mike? You know? Yeah, he said, why are you always separating stuff by race, Dad? These are celebrities. Why does it matter the race? If this was two white people, would you excuse his behavior? No. If it was white people and if my opinion was the exact same, it would just have been, oh, I think that was messed up, blah, 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 blah. But we have a platform, and when people come onto this platform, what they see mainly is 3 black men. I wish Noah would come back, because Noah was a white guy and he started with us. A lot of people don't know that. Noah was, I think, on the first or the second show. Which one did he was on, Matt?
I think the second one.
The second, you know, and Matt, anytime you want to come on. It's not like every day I go outside, I'm like, there's the black people, there's the white people. We can see who's who. But my conversations a lot of the times are directed when we're talking about things that are happening in the black community. I'm going to speak to the black experience. That's all it boils down to. So all my white friends and associates that know me, they'll tell you, like, Dev is Dev. You know, I've been this way for a very long time, and it was racism that made me this way. I didn't start this way in Nurture. It was racist things that was happening that really made me go, oh, so the world is not just people. It's people with ideas about other people who are forcing their ideas on other people. And so you have it. So to answer your question, why is it's white? No, if it was 2 white people and you asked me or we were talking about it, I would give my opinion. But when we're talking about black people, melanated people, I'm going to speak from this perspective in this lens. You know, why is it a black experience? Would it be a white experience if it was 2 white guys? No, see, Matthew, you digging, bro. No, listen. Those were 2 black guys that I look up to. And at some point, if this video lives and it stays in the internet, in the algorithm, other people might see this. And I'm speaking very specifically to something that happened with them that now is causing a conversation for the world, but our conversations are different. White people's conversation overall about what they saw cannot be the same as black people's or melanated people's. We have different experiences. It's just that simple. Are we all in the melting pot? Absolutely. But the Oscars, that's the Hollywood standard for royalty for what happens in that world, and something that happened with them, my children saw and had questions about, and I can't answer from a white perspective. I can only answer as a black or melanated man, and that's all it is. And I'll tell you, Matt, if the way I talk bothers you, you'll probably be really bothered by me. But if you ever hung out with me and we ever just went and watched a game or, you know, just chilled out, played some pool, it's not like every conversation is like, hey, Matt, are you a white guy? Oh, I want you to know I'm a black guy. It's not like that. But I'm using the form for what I think is important, which is sometimes to speak directly to the black experience and make sure that the narratives that sometimes get spun out, if you're going to spin them out, at least you can add this and have this voice in your head. Because most of the time, Think about what Mike talked about a few weeks ago. You were on the call. I mean, you were on the Zoom, and you saw what he experienced, and you were the one, if I'm not mistaken, that brought some other scenarios, and they were fair. Your points were fair. The world saw it. It probably, but you know what? You guys don't necessarily have to mention it sometimes in your community. Not necessarily. I mean, I've never heard. I don't. I wouldn't expect to hear that in particular. But listen, man. Listen, it's just me, just having my moment. If you ever meet me face to face, you'll see I'm one of the kindest people on this earth. Anybody can tell you that. Not just speaking for myself. And I look out for humanity. And that's a whole nother discussion because I believe that what we do is supposed to be the highest representation of whatever came before, the ancestors that came before. But that's a whole nother discussion. Boy, Mike, I'm tripping, man.
I was thinking if or not, it made sense for me to give any input to that. I think I know. Like Matt's asking the question repeatedly, right? Because I think he's taking it from a perspective of like, all right, so there's a person who slapped the person on live TV, and like, like a lot of people might say like, all right, anybody's gonna be offended by this, so why is he even raised the discussion, right? So, I mean, and I heard you say to him, well, because you said basically like it's a different experience, and I'm sure Matt's sitting there, not a different experience. He's speaking from the experience of a black person on your reaction to it, and I'm sure he's sitting there thinking as well, like, well, what the hell difference is there from getting slapped, right? So I think, and I'm not speaking for you at all. This is just my own.
I mean,
recap of the whole situation. I think what happens, I guess I'm speaking directly to Matt and to everybody else. I think what happens is like, so part of the conversation that we had here had to do with everything leading, all the background noise that occurred along with this, right?
Right.
And so there are a number of different factors that led up to this. So and that's why I said early in the conversation, like I almost don't even like the conversation about this whole slap thing on TV because it's almost like gossipy, right? It's like, a man smacks somebody, and it's like, oh, now it's on TMZ and this and this, and it's like, I just don't care about all that stuff, right? But what I do care about is, or what I find more interesting is like everything behind that. And that's kind of like what I mentioned before, like the home situation and how he's battling with certain stuff and the Jada stuff and, the family stuff. And in particular with her hair, like that's, if any female, white, black, Indian, Asian, anything like, or even as someone else on Facebook yesterday mentioned, who happens to be white, dealing with losing the hair, that's going to be a big thing. But there are particular like experiences in the black community around hair in general that bring up other discussions and stuff like that have to do with black or females or women or women of color and things like that all tap into this stuff, tapping into the Eurocentric. And there was another video out there that dealt with, some people said, I don't know, alopecia is called or whatever. There's women who, black women especially, who are losing hairs falling off just because they're putting chemicals and stuff in it and putting hot iron to their hair every day and this and this. So that's like an ongoing discussion just within the black community as far as like hair, right?
Yes.
So do you have that same conversation with do white women have that same conversation? I actually I don't know, right? Something I didn't even know recently enough. I found out through other friends and stuff like that, is I had no clue about how many white women use like extensions and stuff like that in the hair. As I find out more recently, like it's a lot, right? So if you ask any black person in general, I can't speak for anybody, maybe the women on here know better, but they probably say 90%. Maybe some women chime in because I don't know. They probably think that it's 95% all black women do. But I recently found out that there's a ton of white women who are using extensions and stuff regularly, right? So that kind of makes the conversation, balanced and fair, and it's something that goes to everybody. But there's a ton of things that are unique to the experiences, the extra kind of, I don't know, I don't want to put it as a bravado or protective side of stuff that even the black men, brought up kind of feeling, or that whole defensive thing, going back to times years ago, like, certain things happened with the women, and men were like kind of, helpless against it. There's a million different things that kind of tie into, I think, the black experience. And I think so when I hear the conversation, that's what I'm hearing from all of that. And
No, that's great points.
so
That's great. And I do
yeah.
want to say, Mike, to your point about alopecia, the people who I know that have it, and some of the things that they go through, and you're right. We're hypersensitive about certain things, especially our hair. But individuals that have alopecia and the adjustments that they have to make. I mean, my whole thing is love is love. You know what I mean? Love people the way they are. As long as you're not a racist and a negative energy, technically we might get along fine. I mean, I could say a bunch of other things to that, but these are still conversations. I guess overall, I'm just saying, like, the world needs to get out of some of our business while we work some of our things out. It doesn't mean that we're not working together. It doesn't mean that we're not immersed in each other's cultural experiences. It's just from the time we got here, or was brought here, and even before we were brought here, when we were here, because that's a whole nother discussion, we don't really get the space to just heal amongst ourselves overall without somebody coming in and doing something. But
well, I was gonna say, why don't we go through a couple of comments? I see
absolutely.
Melanie commented something. So she says, "I tell you what, this would have never happened to Denzel. He set the tone way earlier in his career. He's not with that disrespect. He's not with that disrespect, and definitely has boundaries. And Mel would know. So good point. Good point, Mel. Who else we have on here? So let's go through. Jada disrespected her husband publicly far too often. Yeah, and that's shoot. What do you do? So so that speaks to like what people are saying is there's a lot going on in that household, and I got to give my credit to a cousin of mine. I think he happened to be on, but he actually told me about the term I mentioned to Dev earlier, cognitive dissonance. And I said when I first heard that word, actually a cousin of mine mentioned that, and it kind of blew my mind because it relates to like the psychological aspect of, oh, damn, I said it earlier today, then I forgot what it is. It's what's your vision of what reality is versus what it actually is, and when there becomes a disconnect between the two. And I think cognitive dissonance, I think it's a dope term. It's something that's messed up when you run into it, but it kind of speaks to what's going on, I think, in his life and even his family, and they're trying to like recalibrate to all that stuff because, and matter of fact, let me not even make it that dissonance. It's something that everybody deals with. Huh?
Well, what you said was good.
Yeah, I think it's something that everybody deals with, right? Because everybody from, I think everybody runs into it until they have a plan to do something from like A to Z, and when you're confronted with it, you hit with the reality of it, that's different, and it doesn't work out. It's not the way it is. It's like, what the hell happens? I mean, people experience that stuff with loss in their families. They deal with career stuff. You deal with traumatic stuff in your within your own personal life and within your family. And the disconnect is a mother, like it can be crazy, right? So, and I think that's what I think is like part of the deeper conversation behind all this stuff, because I don't like the gossip side of it, but it's like, but I think that's a deeper conversation in here. So let's go through. So
Yeah,
a couple of other comments. So Tracy commented here. She says, every day we face that, Mike Powell.
mm-hmm.
Thank you for your comment, Tracy. And you also said, yes, what you think versus what really. Oh, thanks, Tracy, get me on the definition. I started slipping off a little bit, but good thing to keep me on point.
I started to read it too, but I didn't do it.
Now says what made people feel like they can be disrespectful to the both of them. Um, yeah, and Osilla. Am I pronouncing her name right?
Oh,
Osilla. Yeah.
it's Allison, but it's no Stella.
Okay.
That's yeah.
What is interesting? Let me tell you something. Dev, you might be better on reading these things. This is my personal disconnect. But the fact that I got on like reading glasses,
No, it's cool. That's just a little dark over there.
That damn writing's too small, man. So you.
No, it's cool. Yeah, because I had to adjust mine a few times. What is interesting is there's so many comments against Will and Jada, but not what initiated the events that followed. That's a great point, but I think we sort of been going back and forth. I think Will and Jada, obviously the sort of like the huger point as far as the bigger point as far as just their presence and what they put out there in the world. Again, I don't think Chris was right for saying what he said. Do I believe he knew? Yes, I believe he knew she had alopecia. Okay, but somebody said that the joke really wasn't about alopecia, but it really was a dig to what happened with August Alsina in some way, shape, or form. Don't shoot me. I'm just saying. I'm just repeating things that I read on the internet. That's all.
And just to touch on that really quick, anybody dealing with this stuff in their regular day-to-day life is got it's crazy, right? But imagine dealing with that stuff, like all this stuff publicly. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
Nah, it'd be a lot. Stephen said another example of why some say it's not a race thing is because I have heard people say that if The Rock, not Chris Rock, then Will might have thought twice at least once he got up there. The Rock, not Chris. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, listen, and I'm gonna just shut up on this note as far as race. Bottom line is this: for me, any number of different scenarios that could have happened. Obviously, people would have their own opinions and stuff like that. For some of us, we're just looking at it like, damn, wish the brothers would have not done that or done it differently. And that's not just a Oscar conversation with them on the stage. Like, we have these conversations away from the internet where we're like, yo, there's a time and a place. You hear the old jacks, they'll go, hey, Mike, I'm going to tell you now, there's a time and a place. Have you ever heard people say that to you when you're growing up, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
And it's drilled in us culturally because in theory, what they're saying is anything, this is my spin on it. Anything that we do, it's going to echo louder beyond those individuals. It doesn't mean that those individuals represent all Black people because it's impossible. We're not monolithic. We are cultural people. We do all kinds of different things. But the world doesn't really add it up like that a lot of the times. You know what I mean? So, we're fighting through things also.
Seeing this comment from Matthew says he grew balls against a 135-pound guy. I think I give him a few more pounds than that, Matt. But damn,
like what you meant? Yeah,
probably like 165, 70. But I mean, good point though. Yeah, he would have definitely sized up anybody. Anybody bigger differently. I think anybody would. I don't know.
So let's see what Mel wrote after he wrote that. When you publicly put your business out there for people to comment on, and you have to be ready for what comes with it. Some things should be private. Back to having boundaries. 1,000,000% agree.
Yeah, but let me ask you something. Just because something is out there publicly, does that? So if you publicly discuss that, like your child has cancer or some childhood disease because you want to bring awareness, that means that every comment after that is acceptable, or you should be okay with it?
I don't know, because did you hear did you read it? What she wrote?
No, I'm just saying. No, I didn't read it. You were saying. I heard you say. She said something about if you put something out there publicly.
When you publicly put your business out there for people to comment on, you have to be ready for what comes with it. Then she said, some things should be private. Back to having boundaries. So in essence, it's it's real but hypothetical in some ways. It's real, like, when you put your stuff out there, but some things should be private. For a lot of people, They
Yeah.
keep this stuff private.
Well, you know what? It's hard sometimes with celebrities. It's kind of hard to keep certain things private. Not saying that everything in their relationship or their bedroom had to be made public. They chose to discuss that, but I mean, like to me, that's a conflation of two issues because it's like what, and that's to me is part of the tear down. Like if you're addressing, and I'm not saying Melanie's doing that, so don't misconstrue what I'm saying, but I'm saying like if we're talking about the joke and the slap, then it's like it's going into like the bedroom, what happened with August Alsina and different things like that, and stuff like that. So I'm saying that yeah, there is an issue with that too. But I mean, like, it's like, what are you addressing though right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you going back into their relationship, or are you talking about how he responded to that emotionally? You know what I'm saying? It's like what I'm saying. So we take this incident and now we evaluate his whole character and we tear him down. And once again, I'm not saying that's what Melanie's doing. I'm saying in general, it's like, is that what we doing now?
Nah,
You know,
that's not what we doing.
no, I know not us,
Yeah,
but you know
I
what
know,
I'm
I know,
saying?
but I
Like
want them to hear that for the people in the back, as they say.
yeah, it's like, come on,
That's not
man.
what we
Like,
do.
at the end of the day, man, it was some shit. Some people agree with it, some people don't agree with it. I seriously doubt if they're gonna take his Oscar, and we're gonna keep it moving.
Keep it
I mean,
moving.
I woke up this morning, people was already on to like, first of all, I think black people have entirely too much fascination with the lives of celebrities and that type of shit anyway. And second of all, I mean, I woke up this morning, they was beefing with Cardi B because her daughter had on $2,400 outfit in Disney. How they knew the value of it, I don't even know. But and then people were going on and on and on and on and on and on. And I'm like, yo, damn, they getting ready to potentially put a black lady on the Supreme Court that could really affect your lives. I don't hear shit on social media about that. And we talking and they going on and on about Cardi B because it's $2,400. And I'm like, okay, $2,400 might be the rent money you struggling to come up with. $2,400 to her is pocket change, man. It's relative. It's all relative to her situation, man. Like that shit don't even matter. How you gonna tell a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, like $2,400 is pocket change, man? It's bullshit money. So I like, like why are we even focused and fascinated on that type of bullshit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
As
why
a people.
I get turned off by that stuff. That's why I said,
Hold on.
oh, shoot.
Be back again, fellas.
God dang.
Yeah, let me make my point. Hold on there. Hold that for a minute.
You was deep in that, man. You came. I thought you was gonna be talking for the next. We gotta look at the inside of his car now.
Oh, man.
All right, this is
Well,
Real Talk
yeah,
Live, and just you know what's live. And he's
it's
jumping
real
up.
talk because we're at a gas station or something, or wherever Charles is at. We're riding with Charles. Real talk live.
Oh, somebody. Was you put that comment up to read?
Yeah,
Or?
I mean, I really quick I can. Okay, but Will laughed at first and then saw Jada's face and he decided to react. That wasn't his first reaction. I think this could be also staged, but then I think about how it went down, so that erased the stage part. Once you are in the industry, you have to take the good with the bad. That's from Ed Gregory. Um, let's see.
Yeah, I think you know what I saw. I don't even know why. Well, I knew we were having this conversation. Maybe that's a good excuse for why I even bothered with it. But I saw someone do a video thing. Someone who was like a body language expert, and they kind of like, wow, yo, there's so much stuff that comes up. Yo, it is amazing.
Yo, Matt,
4 hour period. The amount of stuff that can come up online surrounding this, and I hate to say it, I guess we contribute into something that's being put online about this, so I guess we're just as guilty. But the amount of focus and attention, just even to Charles's point, that could be put on a guy's smacking somebody else, it was unbelievable. I saw, it was hilarious and not the smack part, but this other thing. was hilarious and not funny at the same time. Like somebody put together this cartoon meme about the whole thing, and they had their faces and everything acting out the whole thing, and they made it into like a slap fest thing or something. And it was like, yo, it was again, it was funny, but then it wasn't funny because I'm like, damn, like how much time do they put into creating this stuff within one day's time? Like it's crazy.
Some people are good at what they do. You know, some people are good at what they do. I mean, Steve just wrote. The whole discussion is the best analysis I've heard about the Chris Rock Will Smith thing. Some very good points. And to Steve, I want to say that's the beauty of us having the conversation because there's going to be all kinds of opinions. But ultimately, I've never said to anybody like you're wrong, as far as this goes about your opinion because everybody's going to see it through their own lens, and some people's lenses, might be a little bit more accentuated to something that they've been through, and if they can relate, they might have a stronger opinion, And let me say this: I'm all for protecting women. I'm all for protecting Black women, but I'm also about just looking at things and understanding that, like, sometimes things might not be what they seem, and that's a whole nother discussion, So, yeah.
We could how much time we got you for, Z?
Oh, I'm good now.
Oh, now you're good. All right.
Yeah, I'm good. I had to take. There's a lot of things I got to do by 10 o'clock. So now I'm good for a little while.
Bed's in by 10 o'clock, and at least you're not sleeping.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm here to 7 in the morning, kid.
So all right. So I'm not changing the topic. David mentioned. He kind of communicated to me that we could we're gonna merge in kind of a third topic, which is like loosely related or directly related. And that's the third topic we had up on here, like growing up in a non-traditional structured family, or as it's officially termed, what they call it, non-nuclear. Huh? Who's up on that? Non-nuclear. It says not as I understand, non-nuclear is mother, father, son, daughter, or siblings, or whatever, and like the impact that has on your life. So this is all kind of connected because when this thing came up, like I quickly kind of referenced the other information that I happened to hear about, like on Will Smith and his whole family structure, right? So he and we don't have to not diving in deep into everybody's business, but something that like even we share and comment on here with the fellas on here, like we've all grown up in non-nuclear families, like different situation, like not necessarily always mother, father, son, daughter, whatever. So different dynamics. And I think if
yeah, in a little bit. What I forget.
Brother, you on the phone? We gotta mute
Oh,
you
okay.
for
Tell.
So Audio Charles. So wait, I don't know. Wait, is he back on or is he off? You off? Okay, I'll mute you, sir. Damn, well, we lost my train of thought, man.
Okay, I'll catch him in Sonic.
So we all grew up in non-nuclear families, right? So to Matt brought up a question that he was kind of hitting Deb with, and nothing wrong with the question. It was a good question. He's like, why are you separating certain things as black or white, or why is race related to this? And for that thing, it's for the thing I'm talking about now, like the family structure. It's something that not everybody, a lot of people have to deal with, but is an especially large problem within the Black community, and there's a million different reasons why that happens, and and I couldn't even begin to get into all that stuff, but there's a million different reasons, and just the fact that even just us all three is something, the experience that we all share is can probably point to that fact that there's a lot of truth in between. A lot of truth that is a high occurrence. So the connection of that is again what I mentioned before, like hearing about Will Smith, like he grew up in an abusive house, which then ended up with him growing up with his mother and his father out of the house, and him having to deal with that, and the abusive side of it is something that I'm feeling like very, very helpless against protecting his mother and stuff like that. And so he's brought that up over the years, like and how he dealt with that in relationships and even in his current situation with Jada, and the need to that fire that he has in it, because he always felt a hole, and he actually had to deal with that with his father years later. He said his father was basically on his deathbed, and he had to deal with like his father dying and coming to terms with like all this hatred and stuff he had for him. So it's a lot of deep stuff. Like maybe it might be a good thing to read his book one time, because I'm sure he gets into all that stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of breakdown like in that structure that then impacts like who you are, like how you gonna struggle and fight and navigate through everything in life. And damn, so let me see. I don't know if I want to
Well, a
talk.
lot of times it controls perception. That's why. You know what I'm saying?
And oh yeah, his perception as well. You're right. Good point on perception.
Yeah, I mean, most people experiences are, shapes their perception, and a lot of life is about a lot of times it's just how you view things, man. You know what I'm saying? It's how the mind is the control of it all, man. The thought is the cause of it all. You've heard that saying before. So a lot of times how you perceive things is how you're going to react to them and how you're going to view them. You know what I'm saying? And what your response will be to these things, and those things have a way of, they stimulate, and people, and they serve as a catalyst for people in a multitude of ways.
Yeah. It,
Most
something I just
definitely.
thought. Something I just thought of. I don't know how it is on all of y'all side of family, like with extended family, but something that's crazy. Like I realized a while ago, like on my side of family, there's very few. Like you would think it had to be 50-50, but there's very few like males like on my side of family, like on within the immediate like range of however you put it out, 20, 30, whatever, 50 miles, like just very few males or older males, I guess, in the family. And that changes like the whole perspective and roles that you play in relationships, even with the other family members and stuff. At least it even does for me, I know. Um, and I don't know, I think all that stuff kind of feeds into like some of the same stuff we're talking about. But it plays a role in how you play, like the security role and taking care of certain things, and I don't know, you know, just in the dynamics of the family, I guess. But,
Hold on one second.
squeaky chair. That's gonna need some oil.
Yeah, this chair needs oil, man. Normally I don't sit in this one, but I was trying to make sure I was high enough up.
So,
Oh, it's not my normal chair.
I mean, a lot of people are dealing with childhood trauma, kid, that unresolved childhood trauma, whether it be relationships with their siblings, whether it be relationships with their mother, their father. They people always talk to girls that got daddy issues, but there's a lot of brothers that got mommy issues, you know what I'm saying, kid? So, that pendulum swing both ways.
I mean,
what did we skip? What was the last comment there?
the one from Songmaster,
Yeah.
or the one from Scylla,
Yeah.
Emotional Intelligence 2.0. It's a great book because of familiar dynamics. It starts at an early age in our culture. It tends to deem therapy as weakness, so we don't heal, recover. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, you know what? To that point, I think you all ever hear Erica Lachey? Y'all familiar with her? Erica Lachey?
Who?
Erica Lachey?
Uh-uh.
she went live last night and she was talking about that. And something she said was, she was like, if you look at the MJ meme, they show him crying. You look at the Kanye meme, they show him crying. You look at the Will meme, now he's crying. And she said the thing is, most people don't take the time to understand what brought those individuals to that moment where, emotionally, they were in tears. And she said, as far as Kanye, and y'all already know I'm not much of a Ye fan, but I mean, she said as far as he went, he was crying because he was trying to see his children. Then they said with MJ, whatever it was that he did, he won something, and it really meant a lot to him because of all the accolades he had. This was something, I guess, that meant a lot to him, and he was emotional. And then, we saw Will last night, apparently accepting, well, not last night, but the other night was accepting an Oscar, whatever. He was crying. Now there's news about him. And she said, we got to be real careful with letting these images not really tell the truth of our stories and our narratives. Because if we make it sort of plays into what she's saying right here about it starts at an early age, and our culture tends to deem therapy as weakness, so we don't heal, we cover. So if we're basically making people feel a certain kind of way about having an emotional experience, and then we become the face of weakness through having that experience. I don't even know if I said that right. Erica Lachey was basically saying, like, we got to be careful with that, and we got to put some truth to why the men are crying, you know what I mean? And not let everything just seem and bring us back to the state of just consistent weakness, like when we first came to this country or was brought to this country, whatever it is. You could be the big strapping one. you were worth more money, but you better stay in your place. You could lose your life. You can get beat, or whatever. But no, man.
So see a comment by Stephen here. I just want to read.
Oh, damn. Sorry. Put that one back up. I put that back up.
I didn't hit it.
Oh,
nah. I hit the other one. That's why I said I'm gonna put it back up.
Stephen said he thought about this topic, and what I will say is that I was privileged to have a nuclear family and have a family as part of reputation. So I love a nuclear family. However, I get that many did not have this, and it was. I guess that's what it's like when and I lived through it, I guess, with friends. I feel sad that many who did not get to have two parents at home or have family dinners or that the parents or if their parents come home or come home alive, for example. Yeah, it's a very different experience with and that's interesting. If I could, I can say, well, how can I say this? I can say I went into a situation where it was a very, like, how can I say this? It was in a situation with a nuclear family, and it's weird to say. It actually seemed strange for a bit, like for a period of time. And it's different because
Excuse me.
and so it's like yeah, the dynamic is just how everything kind of operates. I guess it's just I guess when anyone's used to something, any different environment can be different, come across differently.
I want to Steve's point. All of my homies that had their mother and father, I was amazed when I was a kid. I was literally like, wow, like amazed, And I mean,
Yeah, well, I guess that's what I mean too. Like, yeah, it seemed like strange.
They got both their parents, and looking back, I mean, in some ways, that's sort of sad. You know what I mean?
Well,
In some ways, And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The same thing. It's weird because you grow up being used to, I don't know, like when you have a missing component. It's like anything else. It's like you have a missing component of anything. You figure out the ways to adapt, but things changes, and then when if you go back to that, it's something seems out if you're not used to it, kind of thing.
Yeah, but then also the other side of that is like you kind of like you kind of see it, and so many of friends might be living in a single parent home that sometimes you don't even recognize it as like it's almost like
miss anything.
That's
normal. You
that's
know what I'm saying? It's normalized a little bit because you ain't really on an island like you the only one. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You
well,
know,
but
and there, and there's a multitude of reasons why that happens. Some left, some died. You know, all type of things. It's not a statement that, the black love, so to speak, or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's
right.
just that the reality is that a lot of us grew up in single parent households, and and like I mean, yeah, I think everybody, I think all of America, especially black people, suffer from some type of stress and trauma disorder, kid. You know what I'm saying? But it's been so normalized, and and somebody made a point, or it's been so normalized, or you've been called so, or you've been made to feel weak if you couldn't handle it or deal with it, that it's been unaddressed for so long. You know what I mean? And then to the point, the black psyche in America is so damaged with and so many issues, kid, because of all of the trauma and stuff that it just went through a being, and that goes back to like Mike, with the like when you ask like what does racism look like, and that all ties into it. And then to add to it, the role that after that we have continued to play in our own trauma. You know what I mean? That shit just gets crazy. You know what I mean? And it's a it's a hard thing to break, man. It's a hard cycle to break. I'm not, and I mean, obviously there's a lot of effort there that goes unlooked or unacknowledged or goes overlooked instead of unlooked. You know what I'm saying? But it's yeah, man, it's a lot of unresolved stuff out there, man. Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely, man. And
Yeah.
it's affecting us still.
yeah. I mean, and all that stuff, it factors in onto, like you said, when you have those missing components, and you like everybody, you kind of adapt.
Hold on,
You grow up.
you got the log?
Like you about to jump out the
You got
car?
the log?
Oh
You got
shit!
the
Oh,
Don't worry about it.
log?
It's me.
you just. Oh,
No.
sorry. We
What were you
both.
saying, Mike?
Um, laughing about Charles multitasking. Um, yeah, I mean, I was just stressing again, like on how when you have those situations, there's so many different ways that you deal with it differently. You know what I mean? So like I hate this horrible example you use, but I mean even like I don't know if you ton of people have kids out of marriage and stuff like that or before marriage and whatever, and in traditional families like that's it's not the way you do it. You have mom, dad, married, kids, and everything like that. But in communities where that's not what you see at all, and you constantly have like kids out of wedlock or something like that is normalized or something like that, and then that immediately, um, if it wasn't even through some trauma or something else happening, then that immediately starts off the family, structure, you know, in that non-conventional way, and just kind of perpetrates it, like perpetrates it, perpetuates it, like constantly down the line. Yeah, I'm gonna let somebody else take the rest of this. Go ahead.
I'm not going to keep your eyes on the road. I guess that's when you were driving.
Say again.
And Charles, keep your eyes on the darn road. Let's get some more points up in here. It's how the nuclear family was a unicorn. I was shocked and impressed. I was too. And definitely to Regine's point, nuclear family doesn't necessarily mean health family. There are nuclear families that are broken behind closed doors. Fully agree. Fully agree. You see it a lot. And then Allison said trauma will only be buried if we refuse to take the steps to heal and carries it into future generations. Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So wait, you got all those comments there?
Uh, So far, yeah, I think. Well, there's some more up above it. There's a few more up above it. Um, but yeah, I think we did pretty good. You know.
I missed that last part. I said it's with Charles in the background.
Well, in a nutshell, we're definitely we're winding down now. So stay with us a few more minutes before y'all leave up out of here. Hang out. You know, we got Charles back. I definitely think tonight's conversation was a heavy one, and
He trying to say. Oh wait, he trying to say something. I don't know. Wait,
No,
wait, wait, wait.
no,
What were
no.
you telling us? E?
Nah, this is for all the good people from New York that no longer live in New York. Just letting y'all. That's the George Washington Bridge right there in the background. The camera ain't the best, so you can't get the real view of it. That's New York City in the background, and over that way is Jersey, man. In case y'all are missing home right now.
you know, really, dude.
All right, and who are you displaying on your shirt there? Who is that?
Nah, this is Billy Idol, and but it has nothing to do with music. It's a whole saying on the shirt that I ain't even gonna get into.
Oh, I wanted to know because I like some of his music. I still listen to
Nah,
like.
but it doesn't have nothing to do with
Okay,
idling, man. It's making a play on his name, Billy Idol. It has something to do with idling.
I'm done.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? It says Billy never idles. It's an environmental thing, like idling the car and the exhaust and things like that.
Right.
It's in reference to stuff like that.
I'm glad you
But
told us. It's,
it's a nice little 45 degrees up here in New York, and I'm standing out here looking at the George Washington Bridge right now, enjoying a little podcast. You know what I mean?
join a little podcast, sound like a New Yorker. You know what I mean? You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Nah, man, like AZ, right?
Nah, I mean, yeah,
So anybody want to put a cap on this here, or how you want
yeah. Let's cap it out. Only got a few more minutes. You know, why don't we go into the? We definitely should shout out the people who contributed. We could start that a little earlier than that, and make sure we, show love.
take it away, whatever.
Well, earlier we had Perry, Black Wisdom, Paul, Sapakius, uh, Steve, Matt. And Matt, man, I'm gonna hold you to it, man. I don't drink, but I love Shirley Temples. Don't don't judge me. Thomas, Trey. Let's see who else. Cousin Paul was up there. Marcus Garvey, that's my man Bonds. Much love and respect. Um, Christian. Let's see who else is up there. And we had a lot of people show up. Allison, you know, I might have missed a few, but as I say in my call, Alfreda, and this thread is serious. Jeanette and Jennifer, what's going on? Guy in the middle speaking middle facts. That must have been you at the time before you. That was you, Mike, because you were the guy in the middle back then. That was like an hour and some change ago. before Charles started doing Charles things.
What happened?
And he was present with you, Charles. Nikki, thank you. Everybody, when y'all chime in, Yams was up here. Oh, I miss Yams. Did y'all see me Yams chat? Wow.
Oh no.
Yeah, you know,
Oh, what
Melly,
up with Yams? Yams?
Stacy. Oh
You're
man,
welcome,
Everybody,
Tempest,
reminding
for the
everybody can
little New
watch the
York City
video.
tour real quick.
Click it. What'd you say? See?
No, I was telling Tempest she's welcome for the little New York City, give you a little feel of home. Yo, man, I was down in North Carolina. I couldn't get a chance
that's
to
me.
check Dev.
Yeah,
Y'all, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to come by there.
nah, your time wasn't working, man. You was moving.
Yeah, I was only in there for the day. And where's Paul? Is Paul still on this thread,
I don't know. You
or
know what I
did he
mean?
sign off?
Absolutely, Nikki. Well,
Because
yo, as
he
we
didn't give me credit. He didn't give me credit for that Knicks 4-game winning streak, man. Yeah, because they started winning after I went to that Charlotte game, man. But I ain't trying to say that, but give credit where it's due, kid.
wow.
Had to go have a pep talk with him.
Oh, and I want to remind everybody to, when you're watching on the video, to click into the video. Just don't watch it from the, how can you say, from outside the video.
And
Click it.
also follow us on
Participate.
YouTube and subscribe, because
Awesome.
you might not see it, but 6 months we might have like 2 million viewers. We might have like the big stage and the setups. We might be filming out of New York. I'll probably be able to fly with the budget they're gonna give us, and you get to see us all chilling and doing this. So subscribe and help
Yo,
us.
we gonna do a North Carolina show, man.
Let's do it.
Live from North Carolina. If I could get Mike down there on the plane, man, and stop playing.
Paul's here. Paul's here.
COVID's mellowed out a little bit, so
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Yo, Matt, you know something? And thank you for keeping it real. Because I'm gonna share a little secret with you, Matt. I love these conversations, and I love cultural conversations, cross-cultural conversations with different people of different ethnicities, because that's how we learn from one another. But as long as we lead with respect, I mean, a lot of times we can get a lot out of a situation.
Yep.
Just lead with respect, and then
With an open mind, man, and definitely Paul. Yeah, let me tell Paul. Yeah, I know they lost to Charlotte, but I had went to the game last week when they was in Charlotte, and that's when they kind of went on their winning streak. So I'm gonna take credit for that. But what happened tonight, I don't got nothing to do with that, man. Me and Paul be having outside Knicks conversations.
Yeah. Y'all need your own podcast. I think it'll be sort of fun because he's something else. Brother Paul's something else, man. I mean, he's something else. He's the reason why, I don't curse that much over here. I only cursed like one time in like the last 2 months. Maybe twice.
Oh well, I apologize, Paul, because I know I probably cursed.
He'll pray for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He's a man of the cloth. But
okay. Well,
checked me a few times.
I appreciate that, man. I definitely, I could use any prayers I could get, I guess, at this stage, right? But all right, fellas, yo, definitely, even though I missed some of the conversation or, a little chunk of it, I know y'all carried it on well. I could tell by the comments and everything, that it was definitely a good talk tonight, man,
And thank y'all for commenting and keeping it, helping us.
Yeah, you still a big black guy.
What?
Hey, yo, black boy, come here.
Yeah. Oh wait, I remember. Where did that come from again? I even remember.
Oh man.
Yo, I think was that the story I told you about. Oh no.
I remember that was part. I remember that comment, but I can't remember. What the topic was.
She was like, "Hey, black boy, come here." So I was like, "What?" Some Mexican girl said that to me one time, walking down the street. Word. She was like, yo, but I was it's crazy. I was in Mexico, in Tijuana. I was walking down the street, and I was with Ed, and this Mexican chick, she was like, "Hey, black boy, come here." And I was like, "What?" Yo, this girl is bugging. I was like, yo. I said, yo, shorty bugging, man.
Yo, man.
Yo.
Let me ask you something real quick before we get off. You ever been to Cancun? I know you have. You've been everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Back in like the late 90s, man, Cancun. No one told me that you're not supposed to go off like the beaten trail. And I went up the beaten trail, man. They all thought I was in the NBA. Every single one of them. He was like, "You're in the NBA." I'm like, "I don't play no NBA." Like, I'm on. You're in the NBA. Give us some money. I was like, "I don't play the NBA." I took the jet skis out, right? And back then I didn't know how to swim. Don't judge me, y'all. I know a little bit now. I ain't know now. And the guy said, "Whatever you do when you go through the wave," he said, "make sure you rev back and go through the wave." I got the life vest on. I'm like, whatever. I love boats. I do all of that stuff, but I'd never been on a jet ski, right? So on the ground, it looked like it was calm out there. I couldn't see the waves. Jumped on that joint. I hit the first wave. That damn thing almost took me off the thing, right? And I came up like coughing, like all of the and everything. I tried to hit the second wave. Man, I turned that thing around. I came back. The dude that was standing next to the dude who sent me out. He was like, "You're not going back out?" I was like, "Nah, man, you can take that thing." He said, "I want your shirt." I said, "Man, you can have this shirt. I'm not going back out there." I gave him the shirt off the back, man. I was that nervous about the waves because the waves were like 6 feet high, but from the ground,
Mm.
they look regular. So that was my Cancun experience. Yeah.
Mexico getting violent, man. That the violence down there is picking up big time, man. Especially like even in like Cancun, Tulum, and with the typical like tourist areas, like you got like Playa del Carmen and what else there, Tulum, Cancun. All of them are on that same like stretch of highway going down, man. But
Mm,
like a couple of tourists been killed down there,
wow.
um, caught in the crossfire in Tulum, couple of shootouts, and they just killed like 20 people at like a one of them like fight matches or something, man. I be getting a lot of info from around the world with my news app, and yeah, it's picking up a lot down there, man. The violence is kind of picking up, man. Now they got a drug war going on, so
Oh,
yeah. So a couple of people got caught in the crossfire. You're dead, but you mentioned swimming, man, and it quickly made me think about something real quick. That's thing like, yo, I don't even think we had a show or talked about it, man. What's up with the transgender dude, man, that got the NCAA women's record, man, for
yo,
swimming? Like, yo,
yo, I don't know nothing about. I'm not laughing before that community comes. Listen, I'm not laughing like that. I'm laughing for other reasons because I don't want nobody like beating me up. You know, I don't know, man. I don't think it's fair. I'm gonna leave it at that.
man.
I don't think it's fair.
Yo, women's sports is losing, is gonna start losing its integrity, man, if that is allowed to keep going on. Because yo, I read this quote and somebody said it, I thought it was right on point. You're starting to allow gender to trump biology. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like this dude that won, on a quick thing, real quick on that, yo, the dude that won was ranked like number, or I don't even know if I could call him a dude, but the person that won was as a male swimmer, he was like 455th in the country, man, and he holds like the record as the number one female swimmer. Like, and clearly there's something wrong there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if that is allowed to keep happening, or you don't create like a separate type of category and you allow the biological men to compete, like think about how many women didn't even make the team because this guy beat them out. You know what I'm saying? So, like, think about being a woman training your whole career and get knocked out of a swimming match because a dude became a girl. You know what I mean? That's like that's that's kind of like I think it's a little bit unfair, man. And
What is it?
if all yeah, well, I mean, it's totally unfair. And I mean, if all of your, and I'm not being discriminatory, but if all of your women records are now going to be starting to be held by transgender men, what's left with the integrity of women's sports, man? You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, yo, a man can't even get in the Baseball Hall of Fame for using steroids, but he could become the record holder in women's swimming.
Wow.
That sounds crazy, right? That shit is crazy. But, you know, shit is
I think
crazy.
that's a definitely something to talk about if we want to even venture there because a lot of people ain't ready for that. They're not ready for that conversation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think we, yeah, Tracy, to what Tracy just said, what's crazy is they said that there was a woman who's a natural woman, not transgender or anything, who testosterone level was too high naturally.
Yeah, I read
And
that.
she refused to take medication to lower it, and they wouldn't let her compete. But you let a guy who's now a woman. Yo, son, this is like some weird shit we're talking about right here. At
You
least to
know,
me. At least to me. You know, I mean, like, listen, this is starting to get past weird, man. It's starting to get like perverted. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this shit is getting crazy, man. And I ain't talking about equal rights. I ain't talking about should you have medical coverage. I don't care if you have medical coverage. I ain't talking about should y'all be allowed to marry. I ain't talking about that. But like, yo, at some point, man, you got to draw the line. You know what I'm saying? At some point, we got to draw the line. Like, you know, you want to create a separate category of swimming, that's cool. You know what I mean? But like at some point, you got to draw the line, man, because this is getting a little bit, you know, it's crossing into
hey,
another realm, man.
well, brother, as the time for this evening, that conversation, if we decide to have it, I mean, yeah, now is definitely not the time, because that's a heavy conversation, heavy conversation. But let's wind it up, gentlemen, and let's come back another time, and maybe we can tackle that. We can tackle and actually we'll talk about it.
All right.
Yes, sir. All
One
right,
more.
well,
All right, Sean.
everybody be good. Y'all have a good rest of your week. A
Good.
good
As
weekend.
well.
Everybody out there, y'all enjoyed your weekend. Hopefully everybody's gonna have a safe, happy, healthy weekend, man.
That's
And
right. And thanks for chiming in.
All right. It's only midweek. This is